Adding buds between your mini flowers adds a really lovely bit of detail to your bouquets when you put them together. And the green I've used here is Pro Gel Gooseberry Green, and I've mixed up 2 different shades of it here. So I've got a slightly darker shade here with a leaf tip fitted. So this is a 352 leaf tip. Remember, it's the bird's beak when you're piping. And then in this bag I've got some plain buttercream with a number 2 round piping tip, and then I've got a lighter shade of the gooseberry green here into a piping bag with no tip on the end. I'm just going to cut a little bit off the end and use it like that. So I want it to be quite small, so I'm not going to cut too much off. Just go right to the tip of the bag and cut a titchy bit off the end. Make sure you grab that little bit so you know where it's gone, and then squeeze all your buttercream to the end just like you would with a piping tip. And if it's a little bit too small for you, just push back some buttercream and you can snip a tiny bit more off until you've got the size that you want. Always make sure you know where those bits go. So now you hold the bag exactly the same as if you've got a piping tip in there. So make sure it's nice and tight. Not so much that the buttercream's coming out the bottom, but tight enough for you to squeeze the bag and have control of it. So we're going to fill these little gaps here with some of this green. I'm just going to pipe small little mounds. So just touch down on the cake, come right in between the flowers, touch down and squeeze a small blob of buttercream out, and keep going until you've filled up that gap. Now I'm going to leave a space next to each of the flowers to put a leaf in, because that's added detail as well. So just add some little buds to these gaps in between your flowers. And then turn your cake and go again. So you just touch down like you would with a piping tip, squeeze. You're lifting ever so slightly, it's not much, you're just squeezing until that little mound is the size you want it to be. It doesn't matter how many you add at all, it's just a little bit of detail. And I'm coming up to the edge of the cupcake case, so that hides that little bit there. And now take up your plain buttercream with your number 2 round piping tip. You don't need much in your bag at all here, as they're only tiny little squeezes. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then you're going to put the tip just inside the top of that green. Squeeze a little bit out and stop. And as you do this, you place the tip inside the green blob and you squeeze just a little bit, and you'll feel the green buttercream expanding to make room for the plain buttercream. It's just a really little squeeze here, and you get this lovely detail of this little green ring around the white buttercream, so it looks like it's growing out of it. So you're just very gently placing the tip of the piping tip just inside that green, and then a small little gentle squeeze just to fill up that top of the mound there. And when you've filled them all in, you can add your leaves. So take up your 352 leaf tip. Now remember the angle you want to hold it at, the bird's beak. So you've got that V at the sides. And then with the pointy part of the tip, you're going to point it where you want your leaves to be. And squeeze and lift and come off. And I like to add about 3 leaves to the centre here, just to cover up those messy bits in the middle. And then I'm going to come round next to each flower where I left that gap and just pop a small leaf into each of those gaps. And I like to come up the side of the roses. So I'm not pulling the leaf out right over the edge of the cupcake case. I'm coming up the side of the flowers so that it's not overhanging too much. So when you put it in the bouquet, you're going to squash the end of that leaf. So there we go. That's how to add your buds to your cupcake. So we'll do the other one here. If you find it difficult to hold the cake and pipe at the same time, you can leave the cake on the table and just steady your wrist with your other hand and go in exactly the same way. Touch down on the cake, turn the cake to suit you, touch down, squeeze a little mound out and then come off. And just remember to leave your little gap next to each flower for your leaf. Turn the cake and go again. Now I prefer to hold the cake when I'm piping because you can move the angle of the cake to suit your hand, and it actually doesn't hurt my wrist as much, so that's how I like to do it. You can come right into the center here with these little buds, and it just covers up all the messy bits between those flowers and gives it a really nice neat finish. You can make them as big or as small as you like. There's one more in there and there. I like to cover up the edge of that case. And then take your plain buttercream with your number 2 round nozzle. Oh, just going to wipe that a little bit off. Always want to make sure you've got a clean tip. So just put the end of the tip into that green splodge, squeeze a little bit out, and you've made your bud. And then turn the cake and fill in the rest. And remember, if you're not comfortable holding the cake and turning it, you can lay it down on the table and steady your wrist with your other hand. And then the last little gap here. There we go. And now we'll just finish off by adding the leaves. Just going to wipe off the nozzle here. Make sure your bag's nice and tight, and then just get the angle of your tip right, point where you want your leaf to be, squeeze and lift. Make sure you cover up all those imperfections, and then come around the side of each flower and just add a little leaf for that finishing detail. And there you go, that's how you add beautiful little buds to your mini flowers.